Good morning, class. Right. I think I just want some simple sample survey so that before I start, I get to know which crowd I'm addressing. Right. How many of you have given your attempt before? Prelims. Don't worry, I will not ask number because I know it's very difficult. Yeah. You have given before? Please. Okay. Oh, fine. So I think you would be able to relate with that pain, with that 2 hours of stress, 2 hours of regret, 2 hours of churning, everything, right? Now see, I think the modus operandi of today's particular session is fundamentally to look at what are the nitty-gritties of prelims. Because when you look at this particular stage of examination, it appears to be very important for the reason this is the first stage. Unless and until you qualify this, your dream of becoming an IAS or IPS or IRS, whatever so far, is not alive. That is the fundamental thing that you all know, and I don't think I need to make an emphasis on it. Now, keeping that in mind, what generally happens with respect to this particular stage of exam is that most of you will think that I have to keep on reading. And most of you will think that this particular exam is somewhere in the books, right? Now, when you look at this particular examination and when you look at my own experience, when you look at my own students' experience, or when you look at my own friends' experiences, this examination or this stage of examination particularly is something outside books. Then I think the convenient philosophy will automatically set in saying, sir, we don't need to read books. Should be, right? Now I think for whole of next 1.5 hour session, we would see that what is that part of examination which will make this strategy very objective. Because I don't believe in telling something in air, something which is very abstract. I think you sit here, everything will be fine. I will take care. Don't worry, I am there. Nenu unnanu, nenu vinnanu. I will not say all this. I want it to be very, very objective so that you realize that whole of this process itself is objective. Because I'll tell you one simple point of substantiation to put that prelims or clearing prelims is objective is that every year you see a same bunch of students clearing it. Because when you go to mains examination, when you visit the centers, you see the same old faces coming on writing. That means there is one particular key which is working for all of these people. And we will look at what is that method of making that particular key to crack that examination, right? Now, most of you will be with an apprehension. Pitchless, I think it will go up, right? Most of you will think that this particular stage of examination is tough. Now, there are only two fundamental reasons why this particular exam becomes tough. One is it is a number game. Because when you look at the magnitude of statistics that are present with respect to this particular process, is that you have roughly around 10 lakh applications, right? And you have 10,000 people writing mains examination. So the ratio boils down to how much? 1:100. That means this itself makes this stage of examination very difficult, right? Please understand that today I am going to prove that UPSC is actually very good. It is not like your mother-in-law, right, which keeps troubling you. It's a good mother-in-law which feeds you, which gives you clues in middle. Don't worry, I'll prove that, we'll see, right? So this particular number game makes it very difficult, first. The second thing which people think that why is this particular examination difficult is very, very favorite word to UPSC aspirants. Sir, it is random. It is uncertain public service commission. It is unexpected public service commission. You say, you make UPSC so bad. You make it appear to be very sadistic in nature. right? They say, sir, it is all very random and everything under the sky is being asked in this particular examination. How do you handle it? Now, one thing you need to remember, my dear, that the game of prelims is never about selection, it is about elimination. And it is about the elimination with respect to arriving at an answer. It is about elimination with respect to those who are candidates who are non-serious about this examination. And it is also elimination about those individuals who cannot manage their emotions within the examination hall. And the fundamental reason why most of you will become emotional, some people will carry tissues, right? After seeing the paper, some will start crying, right? As if something is going on or some serial is going on in front of you. The fundamental reason why you get emotional when you are writing this particular paper, especially after first half an hour, those who have written will be able to relate. First half an hour, everything will come into mind. Hey, I should have studied that. I should have read this source. I should have talked to this fellow. I should have solved these many questions. I should have solved these many things. I should have learned elimination techniques. Right? I should have done some black magic. UPSC avahayami. UPSC avahayami. You should have done. Right? Because those who are not clearing prelims and those who are clearing prelims, people will look at them as if, Acha, can I know from where are you getting your black magic? Because they think that there is some black magic going on, there is some technique that is going on behind. But it is all about fundamentally how you understand the process. That we'll see today all across 1.5 hours. Now I just want to extrapolate on this particular randomness wala factor a little bit more. Because when you look at this randomness, there was one simple analysis that was done by me, I think, when I was going through this particular analysis. When you look at the examination or when you look at this process, you see that you have 100 questions, definitely, right? Whole of your life, whole of your aspirations, whole of your ambitions, whole of your grit, whole of your confidence, whole of your framework is going to be shook by these 100 questions. And when you fundamentally examine the nature of these 100 questions, you see that I had divided these two into two components because a generalization has been made. One is on the basis of knowledge, and the other one is something extra. That's what I'm calling it as knowledge plus component. Now, when I observe this, I have taken for last 5-6 years for the reason that I started my attempt in 2016. So I can more relate it. Now, when you look at this particular year, you see that those questions which are based on the knowledge were more. Yes, that means I read some book, I read some material, I read some magazine, I see some YouTube video, I solve some test series, I will be able to answer those particular questions. Now, when I see that there were around 60 plus questions which can be answered and which can be handled from directly from some material, from some notes, from some standard sources. So what happened is automatically you see the cutoff correlation that the cutoff was 116. I think that was the year which I scored around 158. That was my score that year. That was my first attempt. The reason was the knowledge component. And one more thing what happened with respect to 2016 analysis is that you see those current affairs which were being asked which were all direct. That you see those magazines because what happens is there is so much of myth that is going around current affairs regarding you. That also we would handle in today's session. You see that the 60 plus was fundamentally that there were direct questions. But whereas when you observe this particular column vis-a-vis this column, you see that when the knowledge component questions started to reduce, automatically the cutoff started to reduce. And automatically what happened, my dear, you see that this particular extra component or knowledge plus component became more. And this is what is making the paper very random. Because one common comment which people make, that you write your examination, prelims examination, morning, GS1, one wala part. You come out and you say, Arey, we studied so much. Nothing came. What is this UPSC? Useless fellow. He keeps troubling us. Asal daya ledu, karuna ledu, no jali. He is not at all kind. It's all very random. Now please understand that this particular component called knowledge plus component is not driven by knowledge. The fundamental basis is going to be knowledge, but there is going to be a technique which is going to be involved. Towards the end of this session, I am going to show those things like how are you going to use this knowledge here to arrive at a technique to derive a particular answer from a question which you do not know. That's what we simply call it as JUGAD. That's what we simply call it as knowledge plus components. That's what we simply call it as supra-rational approach. Right? So, this particular analysis is what is making the cutoff lower, and this is what is making the paper random. Right? So, please understand. Now, moving on for this. Now, people will be saying, sir, what is your strategy? Right? Because I think consistently clearing prelims, be it my friends, be it my students, or be it me, when you look at this, it's a very objective process, right? There is no, I mean, with all grit, with all confidence, I would say that it is very, very objective. It is an algorithmic approach. You just need these 3 steps. Very, very chutku, very, very simple steps, right? First is knowledge. With knowledge, you need practice. With practice, you need learning. Now, for you to clear prelims, anybody who has been clearing prelims has to definitely undergo all 3 of them. And 99% of the aspirants, they are stuck at this process, knowledge. They say, sir, we want knowledge, right? And they say, sir, if you don't read more, it appears as if we are missing something in life. As if there is some vacuum being created in life. For the same polity, what do you do, my dear? For the same polity, you read Lakshmikant, you read D.D. Basu, you read Subhash Kashyap, you even read Constituent Assembly debates. For what? For what purpose? You read all of them. For history, you read Spectrum, you read NCERT, you read A.L. Basham, everything, whatever history optional notes also you read. And what else? For economy, you read all research documents. And for SNT, you start opening up this nature articles and start reading on it. Now here what happens is, fundamentally you need to remember that knowledge is just a part of this process. Knowledge is not everything. Please understand that one very, very big mistake what is made by the aspirants, that is very, very definite, is that they rely so much on this. And they'll be with a pseudo confidence, and there'll be a kind of adamancy that is created. What they say is that I have read so much. I have so much of knowledge. I have read these many books. And when I read these many books, can't I clear prelims? Can't I choose one correct option among these 4 options? That is what is their confidence. Right? Now please understand that I would deal with each of these components, what are the mistakes that we do. Right? Because unless and until we diagnose, unless and until we understand what are the mistakes that are generally committed, we will not be able to rectify. Please understand. Knowledge, practice, and learning. Now first, when I talk about this knowledge component, what you need to understand is, the first and foremost thing that you need to do is restrict sources. Restrict sources. Because what happens in this process is one very, very definite thing that emerges in the aspirant's mind is self-doubt. That you are reading Lakshmikant, but the individual next to you who is sitting in a study hall will read Subhash Kashyap. And you think that that individual is going to crack exam because he is reading a book which is little fatter than yours. Right? That is fundamental psyche. And that's what we call it as what, my dear? That's what we call it as FOMO. What is FOMO? Fear of missing out. Arey, I am not reading Lakshmikant, I am reading only Lakshmikant. Saripottada. Is it sufficient? And you try to validate it with 10 other people. Sir, I am reading Lakshmikant. Is it sufficient? Arey, Mama, I am reading Lakshmikant. Is it sufficient? Not follow. Lakshmikanta. Why? No. Read Constituent Assembly debates. Then that fellow's sleep is gone. He faces insomnia, indigestion, vomiting, everything will come. Please understand. Right? So the first thing that you need to definitely do is restrict sources. Now, you have restricted sources, fair enough. But what happens when you restrict these sources is that, again the second problem will come in, you keep on reading everything. You keep on reading everything. That not only read, you people will start celebrating Holi on books. You take different markers, one with yellow, one with pink, one with green. If possible, you will create your own things by mixing the dyes and start. Because you are UPSC aspirants and you learn so much of science and technology. Right? So what you do is you keep on reading, and when you go back to revise, it's Rangoli. You don't understand whether it is 6 chukkal muggu, 7 chukkal muggu, 8 chukkal muggu. It's all Rangoli. Now here what happens is, my dear, the second mistake what most of you do is you do not focus on something called as exam specific content. The psyche of this exam, please understand, it has an opinion, it has a psyche, it has a process, it has a algorithm which is fixed. Please understand. Most of you will think that there is going to be a magic that is going to be created in the exam hall. Definitely not. And UPSC is not expecting a magician, please understand. UPSC is expecting an individual who is objective at every instance of life, at whatever be the crisis, whatever be the disaster, whatever be the instance. Stability, balance, objectivity. And whole of this exam process will determine how objective you are. So this exam specific content is very, very important. For the reason that you know that you have 3 stages, you know that prelims is there, you know that there is mains. Every stage of exam has an exam specific content. You can't have same exam specific content for both prelims and mains, please mark my words. People say you have to prepare integrated approach for prelims and mains. Definitely you have to. But one thing you need to understand, that integrated approach will give you a fundamental base. But when it comes to solving an MCQ, when it comes to solving an objective question, what you need is that objective solving aptitude. You can't solve an MCQ question just like the way you write your mains exam. Definitely not. The tempo you would definitely experience when you're writing your mains, suddenly I give you a prelims paper, you will not be able to solve it. You would have cleared the prelims, but you will not be able to solve that objective questions, for the reason that MCQ solving aptitude is a thing which has to be imbibed. Because what happens is, most of you, I mean, as per my experience and as per the things which I keep on seeing in this market, is when you look at the people, they think that they will imbibe these techniques by looking at YouTube. Yes. Most of you, what do? You open the search bar, type UPSC Prelims Elimination Techniques. You search. And there are like 120, 130 videos which are running down the line. And what do? Whenever you are eating, you keep watching. And after 100 or 120 videos, what happens, my dear? Nothing is entering your head. And you see, everything is Maya. Everything is illusion. Something is going on, but you don't know what is going on. Right? Something you are learning, but you don't know what you are learning. What happens is, please understand, my dear, this exam specific content is going to be very, very important in this stage. Manlo, you have done this exam specific content also. I'll tell you what is the biggest blunder that is done by the individuals is they don't revise. What happens? You read, and you have this big pile of books. Right? Some people don't even need bed. They put that only on sleep. Some people don't even need pillow. Some people don't even need chair. Bed uske upar. Or some people, I'm telling you one particular section, they're very, very careful in their life. Perspective thinking. They collect all these books and put in their puja room. As if somebody is going to steal away, this is their asset. They are going to transfer it to the next generation. They put it in puja room, every day they do this agarbatti. Biggest blunder most of you do is revision. You read, you acquire knowledge, you keep on acquiring from this source, but you don't revise. But when you fundamentally don't revise, I'll tell you how is it going to be manifested in exam hall. You don't revise. Now in exam hall, what fundamentally happens is, now most of you will come and say, sir, I am stuck between 2 options. Sir, always 50-50. My stars are not aligned. My planet positioning is not good. Saturn is on my head. Whenever I mark one of those options in these 2, I am marking the wrong option. Sir, please tell me a magic. No. The fundamental reason why you get that confusion, why you are always choosing that wrong option, is revision. Revision. I would discuss about this part little more when I'm going to talk about silly mistakes wala thing, right? Please understand, so in the knowledge component, you have to have this exam specific content. Because for example, when you talk about Parliament as a chapter, in your Lakshmikant you see you have 60 odd pages. Now in those 60 odd pages, trust me, the exam specific content is only 20 lines. You don't realize this. You keep on reading, you keep on becoming a parliamentarian there only. You only start putting no confidence motion. Automatically from inside you don't have confidence, you put no confidence motion. Chalo, arre speaker, continue. Or suddenly if I come and ask you, who appoints UPSC chairman? Sir, committee is there. No. President. No. Central government. No. He appoints himself. No. He writes UPSC prelims. Oh. Confusion. Why? The fundamental reason why you have that element of confusion, you don't revise. Because what happens is, trust me my dear, the knowledge plus component or this knowledge component, you would have at least 30 plus questions. And when you have these 30 plus questions in the knowledge component, you cannot afford to make mistakes. That is very definite. Because what happens is, when you look at these 30 questions or 30 plus questions in this knowledge component, 99% are going to mark it correct. If you are going to mark it wrong, it is simply that you are moving away from the magic figure of 100. Because when you look at those cutoff wala part, our magic figure is what, my dear? 100 plus. We don't need 180, 190, 200 out of 200, okati, not needed. 98%, 98.9, 99, not needed. 100 plus, which is roughly like 50%. Up 2021 wala cutoff you would have seen. How much? 87. It's like roughly how much? 45%, less than 45%. So please understand, my dear, that if you make mistake in these particular aspect without revising, what you would experience or what you would see is that I am moving away from this 100 plus. I am moving away from this 100 plus, which is very dangerous. Now please understand, my aim is not to solve every question in this paper. Please understand. Right? Because there are bouncers, there are full toss, there is beamer, there is no ball, there is wide, everything is there. You should know which ball to be played at what length, which ball to be played at what degree. Please understand. So in this, one thing you need to ensure is revision. Now moving on to the next thing is the aspect of practice. Now isme bada matlab hai yaar. Practice, people say, sir, I have been preparing every day consistently for 10 hours. Because this is all my sample size, my dear. There are students who come to me saying, sir, I could not clear prelims for 3 attempts, 2 attempts, 4 attempts. I have seen these people. And, bichara, I mean, please understand, these people are very, very sincere. It is not that they are halla gulla or they are this air wala batch, no. They are very, very sincere. But they don't clear. Because for them, the emphasis of this exam was knowledge. But the second stage is, which is very, very important, is practice. Now, there are so many myths that are put forward by the market saying that practice, if you have to practice for prelims, solve 100 question papers. Solve 100 question papers. Or solve 150 question papers. Or solve 200 question papers. Or whole of your life keep solving question papers, you will clear. No. Because, please understand, when you are practicing, there is a way of practicing. Unless and until you realize that there is a way to practice, there is a way to learn from the mistakes that you are committing, you are not going to learn anything more. Because what you do, my dear, what most of you will do, is that for clearing prelims, somebody would have told that I solved 100 question papers. And when somebody tells you that I solved 100 question papers, what do? You go to the market, you collect all of them, put it in front of you, you make a new bed out of it. And what you do, you keep on ticking, you don't solve, you tick, you see the solution. Because what happens is, when you are solving this test series, or when you are solving these questions, first 10 questions, out of first 10 questions, you would not even know 5. Because The fundamental psyche behind all of these test series is just to show that they are very, very superior. Now, when you do not know 5 questions out of first 10 questions which you opened when you started to solve, automatically you lose interest. And what you do, you lose confidence. Instead of that, what you do, you see the question, see the solution, see the question, see the solution, see the question, see the solution. And there also another rangoli will come up. You start marking with different colors and you don't revise. Please understand, there is a way of practicing also. Right? For a full toss, you have to practice in certain manner. For a full length ball, you have to practice in certain manner. Right? Yes or no? For a Yorker, you need to practice in certain manner. Now what happens is, whenever you are solving your question paper outside the exam hall, please understand that there is one small thing that you need to do when you are doing this, is please make this table. Please make this table for every question paper that you solve. In the sense that if you are solving 100 question papers, at least for first 30 question papers or 40 question papers, make this table. What is there in this table is, first is number of attempts. That means, if it is a paper of 100 questions, how many I have attempted? First part. Now, out of this number of attempts, I have to see how many of them are correct. Because you have to solve it on your own, keeping a time limit. Please understand time limit, it is not into eternity. You solve 50 questions. Some people do this. I wondered. They solve 50 questions, they say strategic timeout. They go for a tea, they come back, and again next 50. Arey Babu, please understand. Definitely strategic timeout, but in examination hall you don't have a strategic timeout. There everything will falter, I am telling you. Because what happens is, examination or exam hall environment is a circus. Everybody keeps doing their own thing. Somebody will put a God's photo once he enters. Somebody will put all the pens and do like this. Somebody will be meditating, somebody will be sleeping, somebody will be doing like this. Somebody will be doing like this. Yedo kusti potil ke related. You see a whole lot of circus going on in the exam hall. Please understand, my dear, exam hall should never appear new. That is the purpose of practice. Exam hall or exam day should be just like any other day. That is the purpose of practice. Unless and until we practice in such a manner with such a kind of emulation, such a kind of the simulator to be done, it is not going to work out. So once you see how many corrects, then see how many incorrects. Right? Out of these attempted, how many are correct? How many are incorrect? Right? Last column, which is my favorite column, which is very, very important column. Please identify how many silly mistakes have you made. Right? Now let me put small psyche behind silly mistakes. Now what happens is, people come out of exam hall. People, once they write their CSAT paper, they come out, they see the key. And they say, how did you score, if you ask? They say, we are on border. Oh, nice. We are getting 95 to 98. Avvachu avakapu. Edo okati fix ayya. They say that, sir, we are toggling there. Goda meeda pilli. Ataina padachu. Itaina padachu. Chala klishta paristhiti. They remove their specs and say, oh, that's what goes on. Now the reason behind this is this silly mistakes. What is a silly mistake? The mistake which appears silly. Simple. Hai to hai. Sir, how do you define it as a silly mistake? Now when you have to see that how do you define it as a silly mistake, simple parameter I will tell you. If you are able to solve the question correct outside the exam hall and you have marked the question wrong inside the exam hall, it is a silly mistake. Because it is the same person who is solving it. Now when it is the same person who is solving it, and if you are able to solve it right outside exam hall and inside exam hall if you are marking it wrong, it is definitely a silly mistake, my dear. Because what happens is this exam is all about elimination, this exam is also having a negative marking. It is not that you are losing one question for 2 marks, but you are losing one question for 2.66. Simple calculation. And understand one more thing, with my experience I am telling you, that an individual who is clearing prelims and who is not clearing prelims. An individual who is clearing prelims, who is not clearing prelims, you know what will be the general difference? The general difference is hardly 3 questions. The general difference is hardly 3 questions. Because what happens is, now what is this 3 questions boiling down to? 3 questions will boil down to 8 marks. Yes, because 3 questions negative, 2 by 3 into 3, CSAT. The devil in the fridge. CSAT, right? 3 questions. That is 6 plus 2, 8. Now the fundamental, when you look at the normal distribution curve of the individual who is clearing and not clearing, most of the individuals will fall in this bracket of 8 marks. If the cutoff is 98, most of the people will be between 90 to 97. That is what is the fundamental thing. And when you find this fundamental thing that is happening, what you find, my dear? Who is the culprit here? Silly mistakes. And this silly mistakes, which appear to be silly, is costing you one long year, is costing you your aspirations, is costing you your efforts, is costing you your opportunity, is costing you your morale, is costing you your confidence. Please understand. You just have to be a little careful there. And when you see this analysis of silly mistakes, a small thing, is it visible? Please confirm. Is it visible? Not visible? Okay. Is it visible now? Yes? Okay. Now this was, before I talk about this was one side of the question paper in 2021. इसमें बड़ा मजा है, I'm telling you. 2021 paper. What happened this paper? When I looked at it, or when any aspirant look at it, after seeing statements and statements and statements, suddenly they see one-liners. In the 6 questions, I have 5 one-liners. I am happy, peaceful. There is some rest given to my eyes, to my emotions. Oh, fine. Now here what happened is, this was one such paper which can lead you to a lot of silly mistakes. I'll show you how. Here, now see this one particular question of 71. It is saying, simple question, water can dissolve more substance than any other liquid because. It is very simple that we know water is H2O. Some people, to become funky, they say, hey, give that H2O. There you use H2O. But suddenly when it appears in exam paper, you start thinking. Because who is setting it? UPSC. And you think UPSC is big Gautam, big devil. Arey, that is going to eat away. Arey, it's coming. Come on. Please understand, my dear. This is an 8th class question. And what is the simple thing that you learn? It is a dipolar substance. Very simple. That is what is the fundamental thing. Just because UPSC is setting it, just because you find it to be part of one of those 100 questions which is deciding your life, which is deciding your entry into mains, you start thinking. And what happens is you are already having a mindset behind that UPSC is very deceptive. UPSC will not give simple questions because the market has told you, hey, UPSC is very big. It doesn't give you simple questions, it is not straightforward questions, it never gives or it never asks something which is direct from the books. You have to think. You need to have high order thinking skills, people say. Now with that kind of deceptive mindset, what you do, you start overthinking in this question. Very simple. And you mark something and come out because you would have already invested some time. When you would have already invested some time in the exam hall, you are tempted to answer this question. Now, usme kya hoga? What do you do? Mark it wrong and come. And come outside and say, array, simple question. Dipolar, why did I mark this? Gone. Right? I will show you, see the paper. Now this was one more question. 2021. It was on street lighting. How do sodium vapor lamp differ from LED lamps? Right? Which book is talking about this? You have some book on it? Start reading nature papers on it. Yes, no? You have to start, because that's what happens. In 2020, when UPSC came up with around 30 questions on agriculture, people started teaching agriculture and agriculture engineering to students as part of prelims course. They said, exclusive agriculture classes for what? If you don't pass prelims, you have to do that only. Kheti karna padega. Plan B, they are preparing you for plan B. Please understand, my dear. This exam is all about how well you utilize your existing knowledge. I'll show you all that. I'll show you, don't worry. I'll substantiate every point, and I made it a point to you in the starting also. I told you that I want it to be very objective. I don't want anything to be abstract. I don't want anything to be imagination. Right? Now this question, now again, one more extrapolation that you can get from this question is, it is based on current affairs. So how can you say? How can you say that this is based on current affairs? Sir, it is asking about street lighting, it is asking about LED lamps, how can you say it is current affairs? We have achieved the target that was supposed to be achieved under Ujala program in 2021. Now don't you think that is a current affair? Ujala is all about, my dear, what? Distribution of LEDs, conservation of energy. Now when they are talking about LEDs, when they are talking about Ujala program, that is an extrapolation from current affairs. And people look at these questions and say nothing came from current affairs, all these magazines are useless. There is no point. Please understand that when I am going to talk about the changing trends a little while, maybe in next 15 minutes, you would see that UPSC started to drift away from direct current affairs questions. It is extrapolating. I would prove that in the changing trends, don't worry. Right? Now this question you see, ACE 2. Right? COVID wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4 also. Right? And I think we were all there in that. We belong to what? COVID era. Some people also got a branding of passing by COVID batch. They started saying, now COVID is very close to us. Right? It's very close to us. Question? Trust me, 95% in my sample survey I did on this question have marked it wrong. Have marked it wrong. Why? Again a one-liner. ACE 2. UPSC should not ask something very straight. Can't ask. It's a bad mother-in-law. That's what it's treated, my dear. UPSC is treated as a bad mother-in-law. Please understand, no. Not like your serial mother-in-law that zoom in, zoom in, zoom out, that villainish look. No. It's a beautiful mother-in-law. It gives you clues. Trust me, I'll prove. I'm on the side of UPSC. Don't worry. Right? So, bisphenol A. Now this is also one more current affairs question. People say, sir, how? That is a chemistry question. How can you say it is a current affairs question? We were talking about banning of plastics. We were talking about Great Pacific Patch. Yes, we were talking about microplastics. We were talking about bioaccumulation concepts. Yes, all these are what? All these are centered around plastics. We see an amendment being made to the plastic waste management rules, 2016. Now all these are coming up. Now when all these are coming up, and you see that whole lot of articles in your Hindu going on talking about bisphenol A. And you say, sir, no, it is not current affairs. My dear, it is current affairs. When they are talking about bisphenol A so much, and when they are talking about the problem of leachate, when they are talking about the problem of the neurological disorders, or when they are talking about the problem of what? The bioaccumulation process that is happening in the food chain, all this is fundamentally caused because of bisphenol A. And when such a dangerous component is there, you definitely have to read about it. But you read everything else apart from what is actually a bisphenol A. That is a problem. That is a problem. Please understand. Triclosan. Now go back and look behind your soap dabba, soap boxes and shampoo boxes. This will be there. Which book is giving this? Nobody. Is this exam all about knowledge? The simple line to define this exam is common sense. It is all that you need, little common sense. We'll see. Right? इसमें एक जुगाड़ है. There is one जुगाड़ in this. Without knowing this, right? I would, last section, because climax should be punching. Just like Balaya Babu's closure. We'll see. Right? That we can also solve this without studying. Right? Light years. Here the question was 8th standard. Here the question is 7th standard. Simple. UPSC logic. Right? Light years. You would have known that light years is all about what, my dear? It is all about the distance. Distance, astronomical distance that you see. People overthink. Now, this page of 2021 had a lot of silly mistakes. Out of the 6 questions, there were hardly 3% who had made 2 questions correct. Just imagine. That means there are pages like this in the exam hall when you see. I'll just show you one more page like this. This was again from the same year, 2021. Right? Everybody is expert in polity. Excitement. Right? Everybody will write and another Lakshmikant. Probably the twin of Lakshmikant or brother or mama or whoever you want to write, you will write. So please understand, whenever you see polity in the exam hall, you get excited. Polity. Because the first thing when you come to preparation, you see is Lakshmikant. And you get excited. When you get excited about this, you make mistakes. This was one more such paper here. You see here, concentration of wealth violates. I think it's, should I zoom it? I'll zoom it. Yeah. It is talking about, under the Indian Constitution, concentration of wealth violates what? Right to equality. People say, Mama, rich are getting richer, poor are getting poorer. Oh, right to equality. Right? It's actually part of DPSP. Article 39, Clause B, Clause C talks about this. Definitely. Now here what happens in the excitement? Right to equality. Now I'll tell you one more such question which was asked in 2019 is right to privacy. Puttu Swami case 2017, people have been talking, this right to privacy has been asked thrice from 2017. The first option will be what? Article 19. And 95% mark Article 19 and come out, my dear. That's an excitement. Excitement. So that means my purpose of showing all of this was very simple. That we make silly mistakes. And our preparation is not all about qualifying. Our preparation is just to minimize this. Because I'll tell you simple stat, that when you look at these questions, for suppose if you are solving 100 questions, right? You solved 90 questions in this, right? You attempted 90. Out of this, 48 are correct and 42 are wrong, if suppose. Just taking a general proportion which I found out, because when I don't speak these numbers randomly. This is purely out of survey, right? So when I commonly find this combination, now if the errors are around 42, that means if incorrect are 42, take it for granted that if your errors are crossing 24, if your incorrects are crossing 24, there are definitely silly mistakes in it. There are definitely silly mistakes. And if your incorrects are crossing 30 plus, there are 5 to 9 silly mistakes in your paper. All these are calculated, my dear. You don't need to get behind it. What is the logic there? Pure survey. And if your incorrects are crossing 40 plus, your silly mistakes are between 9 to 12. Now just imagine, if this is the attempt that is made, that is like around 90 questions, you are having 48 correct and 42 wrong. I am having around 12 silly mistakes. Now when I am having 12 silly mistakes, just imagine, now my score was how much, my dear? Here it is 96, right? There it is, 2 by 3, around 14. right? So 28 means it is landing up to 68. If this was my attempt. If this was my attempt, my score is landing up to 68. Now, in case if I did not make those silly mistakes in the exam hall, if I did not make those silly mistakes in exam hall, what is going to fundamentally happen, my dear? Just imagine I have restricted this 12. 12 means I am getting extra 24. Is it only extra 24? I am also getting extra 8 marks. That means how much? 32. What is my score? Magic figure? Are you seeing the menace of silly mistakes? What a silly mistake can do to an aspirant. Simple calculation. I am covering your CSAT also. Thoda, percentages. Right? See here. That with those 12 silly mistakes, your score was 68, where you are far away from your 100. But if I was able to restrict those silly mistakes, just be little careful, my score is reaching 100. Now, what is this learning component? The third stage is you have to minimize these silly mistakes as much as possible. It will not happen overnight. You need at least 20 to 30 question papers to reduce these silly mistakes. And when you diagnose what are the reasons for these silly mistakes, one fundamental reason is overthinking, which we are experts at. Yes, you're always experts at overthinking. Right? For everything we have a magnifying glass. Allah. Because most of the engineers will anyway have this. Where they are supposed to think, they didn't think. But overthinking mein to ho jayega. Right? You see this? This is one. The second thing is confusion. Confusion, which is driven out of lack of revision. Definitely. On the third, inky pinky ponky batch. Guess. Right? You people take dice. You people take toss. Right? When you are left with 50-50, you toss. Heads birthday C. Tail B. If you are not knowing anything, you roll a die. When you roll a die, if 1 comes, option A. If 2 comes, option B. If 6 comes, none of the above. If 5 comes, all of the above. If 4 comes, option D. See, convenient. I am giving you an idea. Take it. Huh? Guess. Now, there is a science behind how many you should guess. For the reason that most of you are stuck with a question called, what is going to be my number of attempts? How many questions should I attempt? That is one fundamental question always everybody comes up with. Because what happens is, when you see any paper that I am telling with my experience or with most of the things, that you would not know anything beyond 30 plus on your knowledge. Direct knowledge. If I see the question, I will be able to answer. Direct knowledge. That's what I say, knowledge component. 30 plus. The next 70 around, or say 60 plus questions, it is very definite that I am not going to leave these 60 questions and come out. Very definite. Then what should be your attempt? Now, I think there are two ways people look at it. There are two ways people look at it, saying that let's go for an accurate attempt or let's go for a maximum attempt. There are two schools here, that where people think that, sir, why not attempt only those questions which we know? And the second one is, why not maximize the attempt? Right? It depends on which is suiting you. Right? Now, how to check which is suiting? Again, see, it's all simple math. Right? We are obsessed. I think before this. Now, how to choose is, do you all remember one table that I was showing? Do you all remember this table? Yes. Now, what you need to do from this table is, you would have one parameter which is calculated called accuracy ratio. For every individual, this accuracy ratio is fixed, because it is your psyche, it is your knowledge, it is your way of thinking, your cognitive abilities and your aptitude is going to determine this accuracy ratio. And when you find this accuracy ratio, how do you find? Simple. That number of corrects by number of attempts. Number of corrects by number of attempts. That is what is giving me my accuracy ratio. If I am attempting 90 questions, if I am having 63 questions to be right, my accuracy percentage is 70%. That means out of 10 questions that I attempt, I get 7 questions right. Right? My personal accuracy ratio is between 72 to 78. That means on an average, it boils down to 75. 72 to 78 is my average ratio. Now, how do I calculate when I am doing my number of attempts? Is I belong to this particular school. Right? I would advocate for that school for the reason that the paper is very random. For the reason when you have 50 plus questions which you are supposed to extrapolate and bring, how can you say that I will attempt accurately? Definitely no. If it was a 2016 paper, I would say go for accurate attempt, for the reason that the knowledge basis and the knowledge component in the paper is a lot. And on that basis of knowledge, I will be able to attempt number of questions. But whereas when I consider your post 2018, post 2019, post 2020, I mean 2021 or 2022, you see that the random number of questions are increasing. Anything under the sky is being asked, that's what is perceived. So in that context, what I would say is go for a maximizing of your attempt. Suppose if I was attempting, I said that my accuracy ratio is roughly between 72 to 78%, right? Percent, not number of questions, percent. So it is such that if I am attempting 90 questions, considering that I am taking only 70% as my accuracy on a lower end, 63 are right, 27 are wrong. Now when 63 are right, it is 126. When 27 are wrong, it is 18. So my net score is 108. Are you understanding this? So your attempt is going to be somewhere determining your score. Now our magic figure is 100. Very simple. Our magic figure is 100. When our magic figure is 100, I'll just show you simple math. For suppose I am attempting only 80 questions with an accuracy ratio of 70%. Now when I am attempting only 80 questions with an accuracy of 70%, how much it is? 56, 24. 56, 24, 56 is like 112, 24 is like how much? 16. How much I am landing up? 96. 96 only? She said, Babu. Correct? Please. Now what is happening here? I am away from my magic figure of 4 marks. Now what is the change that I have made here? The simple change that I had made was only number of attempts. So it's extremely important for you to finalize upon your accuracy ratio before entering exam hall. People will say, sir, how can you tell that? You have to attempt on the basis of the question paper. Now please understand, my dear, depending on the question paper when you are attempting, you need to understand that your competition is never on the depending on the question paper. Your competition is those 10,000 people who are already ready to enter into exam hall, means exam hall. Please understand. Based on the question paper, that figure is not going to change. That number is not going to change. It is that how well equipped are we to tackle these questions also to enter into the hall. That is what our purpose is. Right? That's what I am making it very clear. Magic figure of 100 plus is what is our target. We don't need anything more, my dear. It's a qualifying exam. Bas ek bar par ho jaye, once, that's all. Trust me, this stage of exam is very important. Not just to write your mains, but just to continue your UPSC journey. For the reason, once you clear prelims examination, trust me, the level of confidence that you get on this process is immense. Nobody will stop you from giving you your second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt, fifth attempt, provided you're clearing your prelims. This stage is so important. Not only to write your mains, not only to get closer to your dream, but also keep yourself balanced across the journey. Please understand. And it is all calculated. I am just putting it all numbers. It is all very objective. Right? Now, once you see this 3-step strategy, which is very, very objective, where I say knowledge, practice and learning. Where I say knowledge, practice and learning. Now, once I understand this, this is from my side. This is from the aspirant's side. But what is from the UPSC's side? You need to understand that also. Because for you to clear this examination, there has to be meeting of both interests. Now, when you look at one thing that is happening in this particular exam, is change in trends. This is one fundamental reason why you have your randomness in the paper increasing. And when you find this change in trends, the first thing that it talks about is sources. Sources. Sources are changing. For the reason, if you talk about environment, your 12th standard biology textbook last 4 chapters used to be very important for the exam of 2013, 14, 15. Then it changed. For example, you talk about polity, it fundamentally changed from Lakshmikant to political theory. And for example, when you find your 2021, when you find 2022, when you find your 2020, you find that questions are fundamentally coming from political theory. For example, in 2021, that separation of powers wala question. So what is happening is here you find that the sources are shifting. And you say, sir, nothing is coming from these books, nothing is coming from these books. And what you do, you diversify your sources. But you should not do that, my dear. Please understand that in this particular course which we are going to focus upon is we are going to maximize on our sources itself. We are not going to change the sources. Sticking to fundamental sources, but we have to maximize upon it. That is one key thing that we are going to do in this particular course. Right? The second thing that you see the changing trends is with respect to current affairs. Once upon a time it used to be very, very direct. Once upon a time they used to say that current affairs used to come from this magazine, this magazine, this magazine. You read this, you will be able to answer current affairs. But now they are not doing that. Now what is the fundamental thing that is happening with respect to current affairs is they are talking about current affairs related static. For example, I'll give you a classic case. For example, in 2021 there was a question on Dholavira. Now why did they ask Dholavira? They talked about the UNESCO heritage, right? Now what happened there? For example, that LED wala question. For example, that Gucci mushroom in 2022, right? For example, Gandikota. Now why all this was asked? Do you think that current affairs are not coming in your paper? No, they are. But it is only that when you look at this current affairs trend, what happens is, my dear, if this is the news, or if this is the article, we are stuck at this article. But what UPSC is doing with all strategy is just it is deriving one thing from it. We are not doing this. It is deriving one thing out of it and we are not doing this. And when you find the zone of this derivation, what is happening? When you find the zone of extrapolation, where is it being found? It is being in the ambit of static part. We are not realizing this. And we say current affairs, current affairs, current affairs, current affairs, current affairs. You see that current affairs, you see this current affairs, you see this current affairs. You start creating your own current affairs. What happens here? In this process, you are unnecessarily being overloaded with information. I think during COVID, there was one beautiful word that was framed called infodemic. What is this infodemic? Information pandemic. That means you have abundance of information and you don't know how to use it. Everything goes on. Everything is an information. Everything you feel that I have to study, I have to remember, I have to write, I have to reproduce, I have to do all of this. This is what is missing. Changing trend. Definitely to be observed. S&T. Science and tech. Yes. What happens? Everybody is an expert. Right? Science and tech. Now here, the questioning is drifting towards application oriented. And application oriented is not simple application oriented, but it is drifting with respect to your fundamentals. For example, in 2020, there was a question on conjugate vaccine, PCVs, pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, PCV. For example, there was a question on animal cell and plant cell. Those are basics. For example, you find in 2021 again a question with respect to your copper smelting. What happens, my dear, here? Fundamentally, it is talking about application. And what we do, we again read current affairs for S&T. S&T current affairs sufficient. Chalo. Now in techniques, I'll tell you what is going on in market. Don't worry. Right? S&T is changing. And you find that 2-3 areas are very definite in S&T. One is your biotech. There is no paper which comes without biotech. The second one is you find your microorganisms. There is no paper which comes without microorganisms. For example, when you look at your 2021 paper, you had what? Your virus, fungi, this. Same question was there in 2014 as well. Same question was there in 2018 as well. Right? Yes. For example, in 2022, you find this question on with respect to cultivators of fungi. Cultivators of fungi. Now that microorganisms is extremely important. That insects is extremely important. So what happens is you find that this section is little drifting away with a combination of static. And the third thing or the fourth thing that you see is our favorite environment. Right? You find some XYZ source. Right? You read it. And you go to the exam hall and say nothing is coming there. Now one fundamental drift away from your environment strategy is you find something called as composite questioning emerging. From 2018 onwards, you find this composite questioning emerging with respect to your environment. And what are the 3 subjects that they are mixing is geography, environment and S&T. And your question is appearing here. We don't understand this. What we do, we read NCERT, we read environment means we only think about environment. We read S&T means we only read about S&T. If you read about geography, only geography. Maps, places, concepts. Yes. We don't interlink. And UPSC found that vacuum. That we are not interlinking, we are not going for a composite approach. They emerged. And we say question paper is tough. We say it is random, nothing is coming. Why to study? Instead of this, we'll keep some kirana shop. Why to write prelims? Right? Everything will come. Or you pray to Lord Balaji in Tirupati that you clear my prelims, I will come rolling to your hill. You pray all this. Yes. Why, my dear? Because we are lacking an element of understanding of this exam. We are not doing it. And when we don't understand this exam, when we don't understand the psyche or the pattern or the algorithm of this exam, it becomes tough. Don't you think so? Definitely tough. And the reason why so many people falter in clearing this prelim stage is they don't understand. On top of it, the next thing will emerge. Just give me a second, I'll show you. Yeah, one more changing trend. Suddenly in 2021, I still remember when I was giving my attempt, I think I got set C, 2021. When I got set C, these were question number 6, 7, 8, 9. Just imagine, because this particular trend of sports questions, right? Sports questions, these were things of like 2000s. Nothing after 2010, 2011, UPSC never asked sports questions. And suddenly you open paper. है तो है मसाला उसमें. You see sports questions. Now after seeing this, I should do this. Ready. No, I don't do this. Now what happens, my dear? This is another changing trend. UPSC suddenly will get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and some light will enter its head. It says this year give sports questions. Gone. Oh no, in 2022 what happened, my dear? Matching wala questions, what they did? Only one pair, only two pairs, only three, only four. Huh? Arre. Is it so? Now just imagine, I think if I'm not wrong, it was set D. The first questions were history. Right? In history, 7 questions were asked with this pattern. Half the people will sleep there only. Arey, why to write? 1 pair, 2 pair, not needed. I don't want to pair only. Chodo. I'm happy. Pairing to nahi. I don't want. You see, changing trends. Now you expect the unexpected. That is what is UPSC. Just like our lives. Expecting the unexpected. You have to expect the unexpected, what is going to be a surprise element. Please understand, my dear. Surprise is never a surprise in exam hall. Treat it as a question. That's all. Don't say, why UPSC? Why did you give this? Why are you troubling me? No, chuchu. Why? You can't. Every question carries 2 marks. Every question has a negative marking. That is the only thought process that goes on in the exam hall. You can't afford to go anything beyond that, my dear, because you can't afford to have an emotion attached to a question. Please remember this. Right? If there is one question on Beijing Declaration, I think in 2015 there was one question on Beijing Declaration of 2005, 10 years. Celebrating 10 years, they had asked 2015 Beijing Declaration. If you are a feminist, you can't say, yes, they asked about Beijing Declaration, it is regarding the empowerment of the women, I will bubble carefully. No emotions attached. It is one question, it is giving you 2 marks. If you are marking it, you are losing 2.6s. That's all. In these changing trends, if you don't imbibe this psychology, if you don't keep this in your head, that it is just a question, it is not going to work out. Half the people lose out there. Half the people will say, sir, paper is unexpected, I don't want. No. Because what happens is, the transition in your preparation for this prelims examination should happen from self-doubt to self-confidence. Unless and until you start believing yourself, how will you bubble, my dear? How will you bubble? When you are bubbling, shivering. Because you don't believe in what you have read, you don't believe in what you have practiced, you don't believe in your sources, you don't believe in your strategy. When you don't believe in your strategy, how are you going to bubble? How are you going to choose? How are you going to eliminate? Because still the masala part, it's not yet approached in the lecture. That is your knowledge plus. Knowledge plus. I'll come into it. Right? So please don't be boggled by such things. Before I get into knowledge plus, PYQs. People do not even treat PYQs as questions. Previous year questions. They are past. Why should we? We should not bother about our past. Past is past. Everybody has a past. Abba, we didn't know. People say all this philosophy. Previous year questions, in that itself there is previous, no future. Chodo. Nahi. I'll tell you one simple magic, right? I'll prove that prelims is easy to you. Don't worry. Right? I think those who have attended my sessions in a regular classes, they would already know that prelims is easy and how many marks are there in their pocket. I'll show. Don't worry. One simple analysis. Years. What are these? Previous year questions. Worth how many marks, my dear? At least 40 marks. You don't realize this? And you expect that previous year questions appearing in the paper means they will cut, copy, paste, control C, control V. We want like that only, no? Convenient. Otherwise it is not previous year question. Please understand. For example, in 2022 there was a question on system of rise intensification, SRI. That question was there in 2014, that question was there in 2015, that question was there in 2018. Yes. And there was one question with respect to your CGWA. Right? Or they have asked about Environmental Protection Act. Which of the following bodies are part of your Environmental Protection Act in 2022? 2022 question. And that is your Central Groundwater Authority. That was a question picked up from 2020. In 2020, there was a question that was given about CWGA, that is Central Groundwater Authority. And they said the first statement of that particular question, I still remember that question had two statements. That the first statement of that particular question was, it is established under Environmental Protection Act. अरे यही तो previous year question है. And one more question was there in 2022, which of the following are east originating rivers? Same question was there in 2013. There was a question that was asked on Subarnarekha, there was a question that was asked on Brahmani in 2013 and 2015. And you don't see this. You don't see this, and you say previous year questions are, अरे ठीक है यार. They are worth 40 marks. They are worth 40 marks, provided you realize. Provided you realize. And you find this question on Nilgiri, my dear. Nilgiri wala biosphere, you find a question in 2015, you find a question in 2016, you find a question in 2018, you find a question in 2020, you find a question in 2022. और बोलते हैं नहीं, previous year questions are not being asked. Please understand that every paper has a derivation from previous year question. For example, in 2019 there was one question with respect to lead bank scheme, and that lead bank scheme was already asked in 2013. Please understand. Now there was one more question with respect to money multiplier. Money multiplier as a question was asked in 2019, was asked in 2021, was asked in 2022. And if you don't revise and differentiate between what is the velocity of the money, what is the difference between money multiplier, you will not be able to answer those questions. Please understand that previous year questions are extremely important. For example, this year constitutional government, which I showed you, that scope for silly mistakes, that constitutional government wala question was asked in 2020 as well. Right to privacy 2019, 2020, 2021. Please understand, my dear, that there is a bunch. And previous year questions are extremely important. One, as a source of questioning for the next year. One. The second thing that you get from your previous year questions, very definite, is you would be able to understand what are the topics to be emphasized. For example, there is no paper without Vijayanagara, go and check, except 2017 and 2022. In 2017, there was one question on Kakatiya which asked about Motupalli. In 2022, there was one question on Sangam literature. They did not ask about this. That means it is very definite trend that one question on South Indian kingdoms, take it for granted. मान लो उसमें विजयनगरा बहुत important है, अगले साल विजयनगरा आना ही आना है, देख ले. See that. For example, in 2021, there was one question on Vijayanagara which talked about the women bodyguards, which talked about astrology, which talked about soothsaying, all this. Accountants. In 2019, there was one question regarding Vijayanagara with respect to Kalyana Mandapas. You see this? There is no question without tributaries. Dekh le. In 2015, there was question on Godavari tributaries. In 2016, with respect to your Brahmaputra. In 2017, with respect to your Teesta. Right? In 2019, there was with respect to your Indus. 2018, with respect to your Indus. 2021, with respect to your Indus. 2022, with respect to your east flowing rivers. And Penna. अरे ड्रेनेज सिस्टम बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, उसमें ट्रिब्यूटरीज आना ही आना है, डेफिनेटली. एज वेल माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स, देयर इज नो पेपर विदाउट योर वायरस, फंगाई, बैक्टीरिया and cyanobacteria. See this. Please understand that it gives you an area of emphasis. There is no question without RBI. There is no paper without RBI. For example, when you look at 2021, there was one question regarding section 7. And when you look at section 7 of RBI Act, the fundamental reason why they had asked section 7 was we had reached one of the highest, we have reached one of the highest with respect to your reserves, around 600 billion that time. That's a question. Money multiplier, money aggregates, bina paper nahi hota yaar. There is not going to be any paper there. M0, M1, M2, M3, you study and you get confused so much. You write your calculations, you write your equations, you write your mnemonics, everything you write, there is a question on it. Definitely. No paper without your fundamental rights, no paper without your DPSP, no paper without your fundamental duties and preamble. These 4 will have at least 1 or 2 questions. You don't observe this. Previous year question is a repository of ideology of UPSC. Please understand. We don't understand this. Paper is leaked through PYQs. I simply put it. Your prelims paper is leaked in the form of PYQs, at least worth 40 marks. And please understand that just by looking at PYQs, you will be able to get something. No, there is a way of doing it. There is a way of analyzing it. There is a way of understanding it. Unless and until you catch that way you do it, it's not going to be helpful. Ab kya hota? You see some YouTube, right? You see your shorts also, don't worry. Right? You see your YouTube. There what you see? You search previous year question analysis. They will analyze, no issues. But what you need to understand is how is the exam oriented learnings are being made from PYQs. That's very important. And unless and until you realize that, this is not going to happen, right? My favorite, knowledge plus component, right? I mean, just to put it as a formal way, I've put it this. Otherwise, if you ask me to rephrase it, I'll say, JUGAD, hai to hai, right? Just to put it formally. Knowledge plus. Otherwise, it's JUGAD. Why? Now, this JUGAD is not something random that I'm sitting in the exam hall, right? Suddenly, some light will flash here, right? Mark this, mark this, mark this, mark. Nothing will tell from inside. It's all very scientific. It's all very objective. And I'll tell you one caution of note here, my dear. But what happens in the market is people talk about this elimination techniques, people talk about this knowledge plus component. And they say that you see this video, you get it. Nothing happens overnight. There is an organic way of imbibing these elements. The reason why we had scheduled this course for 40 days, we could have done that in 20 days, we could have done that in 10 days also. The reason to put it for 40 days was fundamentally to imbibe this knowledge plus component, because the majority of your questions are knowledge plus component. Knowledge necessary. That's why knowledge plus mein knowledge hai, right? Knowledge is necessary. And what we need to do, that additional plus has to be imbibed. It has to be indoctrinated. It has to be practiced. It has to be made involuntary. Unless and until we imbibe, we indoctrinate, unless and until we make it involuntary, this is not going to come in your exam hall, trust me. Because I've seen people that I had one particular friend that who could not clear prelims for 3 attempts consecutively. Uska third attempt mein, in his third attempt, he said that I'm going to use all JUGAD. What did he do? He took out 10 days before exam hall. Before exam, he sat and watched all YouTube videos. That you search, once you go back and search, you will get some hundreds of videos, right? Everybody will be telling something else, right? He sat, he watched, he went to the exam hall, he came out, right? After the exam, in the evening, he said, I wasted last 10 days. Opening comment. Opening remark, punch, wasted. I asked him why. Why? He said, I thought that I will use all of these techniques because I made notes, I have seen all of those. You believe it or not, not even one technique came to my head. Why? Because your head is like a potato in a pressure cooker. Simple. Will potato have any role in a pressure cooker except being jumping, nothing else? In those 2 hours also, our head is like a potato. What is involuntary, what is within, what is imbibed, what is habituated, what is practiced, what is indoctrinated is going to be coming out. Otherwise, it's not going to work. The demands and knowledge plus technique demands an organic way of doing it. I'll show you, right? Knowledge plus. Now, knowledge though hai yaar, tumhare paas hai knowledge. We'll see memorization techniques, we'll see snippets, we'll see the dynamic elements, we'll see everything that is to be done, we'll see the way of remembering things also. You have knowledge. But with knowledge, I need technique. And this technique is going to determine your 60 questions in your prelims, definitely. At least 50 plus. Now just imagine I see this question, right? 2021, I gave this attempt. Women in Vijayanagara. So women bodyguards would definitely know wrestling. So that means I know, and you see that I am eliminating. Now I see that 2 and 4 have to go together. When I know astrology, I will go for soothsaying. Sodhi chapta namma sodhi. They come with this basket, right? And you say, will I clear prelims? Huh? You will clear, right? Now I know that 2 and 4 will go together. Now when I know that 2 and 4 will go together, I only have one option. What is that? In this, did I need knowledge? What I needed? Technique. Technique. Common sense. Hai to hai. I didn't even need to see this question at all. Are choda yaar. If I would have known that 2 and 4 has to go together, hai to hai option. Please understand. I'll show you one more question. This is one question that came in 2021 again. It is talking about which of the following is a filter feeder, right? Again, NCERT, right? NCERT talks that coral reefs are filter feeders, right? I know this knowledge. This is my knowledge. Now when I know that coral reefs are filter feeders, my head will start thinking that these have the calcium carbonate structures. Yes. These have shell structures. Yes. Your shell structures are nothing but calcium carbonate structures. Now out of the options, which has shell structure? Yes. Only oyster. That is the answer. Should I know that whether oyster is actually a filter feeder? I knew from my NCERT knowledge that this is a filter feeder. I have extrapolated. Do you think that you will get this overnight? Practice. And it has to be imbibed, imbibed, imbibed. What we would do in this course is that only. Is that only. Imbibing the ideology. Please remember one thing, that I am not telling this is the only strategy. This has worked out for many. Of that experience I was telling, that friend, right? His 4th attempt was in 2019. He gave this attempt. You know what was his score? 148. An individual who could not clear prelims for 3 consecutively flipped his score to 148. It worked. It is working. It is working. Trust me. Not with others, with me also. Right? So with all conviction, with all grit, the reason to be so confident about this strategy is it is working. I will not say it is the only strategy. No. People will follow, but this is already working. When you know already the key, why you want to prepare another key? Let's break the lock. That's the only thing. Come on. Next, one more question. Let's see. UPSC will play gimmicks. 2022. Right? I'll show you something beautiful in this. Our question is there. Observe the question numbers. Question 55, 56. That means when I saw the paper, 55 was here, next page was 56. Right? Now, the question appears very difficult. It said that with reference to Indian history, consider the following texts. Which of the above are Jaina texts? Now, isme to I know that Avadanas are related to Jaina. I do not know here. What am I doing? I am breaking the word. Avadana Shataka. Avadana plus Shataka. Savarna Dirgha Sandhi. Avadana Shataka. What am I doing? Avadana plus Shataka. Avadanas are what? Jains. I know. That means I have come to a conclusion that 3 has to be there. 3 has to be there. Right? Now, Prakaranas. Prakaranas. You study in your basic sources about somebody called as Aryadeva. UPSC was giving you a clue. You study about somebody called as Aryadeva, and Aryadeva has written a book, Samuchita Prakarana. Samuchita Prakarana. And Prakarana is what? Aryadeva was a Buddhist scholar. That also you read from your basic source. When you know that Aryadeva was a Buddhist scholar, and when he has, in his literature, when there is a word called Prakarana, now here also have Prakarana. That means this should be Buddhist. What is this? UPSC could have given that question some other place. This was 55, that should have been 90. Why did you give in 56? Giving you a clue, Arya Fuddu, Aryadeva. Remember, Aryadeva has written Prakarana, something is there. Netti, Prakarana is there. Nikaldo, use your Netti, use. That's what they are saying. It is also helping you to solve. Aryadeva is Jaina scholar. No. Buddhist scholar. Are you understanding? Right? I think a similar thing was there in 2019 also. Let me show. See this. We are writing Indian civil services. Why Vietnam came? What is the business, my dear? These are random questions. These are random questions. Ismail, you says, no, I will go and read Vietnam constitution. I will sit in Vietnam for some time. Kuch nahi chalega. Basic. What do you do? Now I read. Half of the people after seeing Vietnam, no, bye Vietnam, I am going, they say. But no. Look at the sentences. Vietnam has been one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Vietnam is led by multi-party. Vietnam economic growth is linked. All this is there. Now look at the statement 5. Vietnam has the most productive e-service sector in the Indo-Pacific region. Indo-Pacific. Indo-Pacific means India should be there. Yes. Now we are known for what? Service sector. Service sector. And our services are so strong. Every third person is a software engineer. Yes. Now can Vietnam satisfy this? When I eliminate 5, I eliminate this. Okay. Now I have 3 options. Now straight away look at option 3 and option 4. If I remove Vietnam in this and put X country, both statements are correct. Because these are simple statements. They are simply putting Vietnam's economic growth is linked to its integration with the global supply chains and focus on exports. My dear, it is not only Vietnam, any country which is integrated with the global supply, which is integrated with the exports will have an economic growth. Irrespective whether it is Vietnam, irrespective whether it is Thailand, irrespective whether it is Laos, whether it is Cambodia, irrespective. So 3 is correct. Look at 4, both are consistent. For long time, Vietnam's low labor costs and stable exchange rates have attracted global manufacturers, definitely. It's not only Vietnam, you put some Ecuador also, it will attract because low labor costs and stable exchange rates. 3 and 4 are definitely consistent and correct. Look at the option. एक ही तो है. Knowledge, technique, both. prelims is this. When you're solving it, you get a kick inside. Arre! Excitement. Don't you think so? Abba! Like that only it was. What we do, my dear, we are saying that, array, no knowledge, read. My favorite line. Common sense is not so common. And in examination hall, it is definitely not common. Because we believe that we have read 10 hours for 1 long year and we believe in knowledge and we will write this exam and qualify. Not going to happen. I'll prove. See? This was 2019, one sheet. Right? Let me zoom into it. This is question number 7, my dear. Right? Which of the following is not in Harappan site? Chahudaru, Kodzi, Sohagura, Desalpur. In this, I know Chahudaru and Kodzi are Harappan sites. 50-50. Most of you. Now what you should do? Toss. UPSC. Very good. What? Very good mother-in-law. Immediately in question number 8, see what happened? What it did? In which of the following inscriptions is Ranyo Ashoka mentioned along with stone portrait of Ashoka? I don't know. But I definitely know that there is one common option between 7 and 8. Sohagura. If Sohagura was an Ashokan inscription, it is not an Harappan site. Huh. Yes or no? Arre. Common sense. UPSC could have given question number 8 as 18, as 98. But why did it do? It was checking presence of mind. It was checking common sense. It was checking whether you are alert at every instance of the paper or not. Just your senses have to work for those 2 hours, my dear. Trust me. I am showing you classic examples. And this is not once. Every year UPSC gives you clues for at least 3 questions in the paper. Take it for granted. And that is the reason why you have to read the paper multiple times before coming out of the exam hall. Right? See this. Common sense. Common sense which is not so common. I loved this question. Right? If you ask me, sir, what is the favorite question of yours in the past 10 years? Drumsticks. See? I told you kind UPSC. It gave moringa. I know only koringa. I don't know moringa. Good. In bracket drumsticks. What purpose it had? We would have just left koringa and we would be scratching our heads. In bracket drumsticks. See? So kind, my dear. Change your perception towards UPSC. It said moringa drumstick tree is a leguminous evergreen tree. Pata nahi. I don't know. What should I do? Definitely in your lives you would have had drumstick tree. Because that is the tree which you can easily climb and which you will fall, where you will break your legs and your mother will hit with the same drumstick. I think, I don't know. But I know that I am from Rayalaseema, which is Ratnala Seema. I think all the praises for Rayalaseema was seen in the recent movie. No? Did you all watch? No names. Right? I know that it is a drought region. And I know that in every second house I find drumstick tree. Because people will go and say, Vadina and drumstick. They say that. Now when they say that, I definitely know that if the frequency of occurrence of drumstick tree in a drought region, I definitely know that it is not evergreen. Because if it is for it to be an evergreen vegetation, from my knowledge, I know that the rainfall has to be above 200 centimeters. That is what your rainfall divide line that you have with respect to your Indian region, northeastern region, your Western Ghats. And a tropical dry evergreen is only found on your Tamil Nadu region. I definitely know this. Now when I eliminate this, see, aha. I don't even need to know other things. Tamarind tree is endemic to South Asia. I don't know, my dear. Apart from that stick tamarind eating when I was bacha, nothing else I know. What else I know? Huh? In India, most of the tamarind is collected as minor forest produce. Yes, that is known. Indian exports tamarind and seeds of moringa. No idea. I need not know. Are you observing one thing? Common sense. Controlling the controllable factor. Using what you know, not trying for what you don't know. Simple. Prelims is very easy. I'll show you one more example. Palm oil. Right? Same 2021 paper. Palm oil. Now it said that the palm oil is native to Southeast Asia. From our knowledge base, I know that these are from African region. These are from African region. Now when I eliminate this, simple. Are you observing? That it is never about selection, it is about elimination. 2022 wala question. I love this question also. Right? Basically, I love all the questions of UPSC. Because what happens is you get a kick when you are solving it. Right? See this. Which of the following are the organization of Turkic states or Turkic states? Right? I know Turkic means Turkey. Huh? I know that these are mostly Muslim states. Itna to pata hai. Right? Croatia. Why Croatia will be there? What business Croatia has? Except from getting a third place in World Cup, nothing else. It was a runner-up in the previous World Cup, now it is third. Croatia, I eliminate Croatia. Then Romania also. What business? Right? Eliminate Romania. You need not know this. You need not know this. Because when I was taking these sessions last year, I had given a mnemonic for this also called Katak. I had given a mnemonic last year for this called Katak when I was taking the same sessions. It came in 2022 because that was in news. And Armenia and Azerbaijan was also in news because Nagorno-Karabakh region. Current affairs. And in case if you did not know also, you could have solved without knowing it. Basic knowledge. Knowledge plus. Are you understanding, my dear? See, I'm just substantiating things. JUGAD loading. Yes. Right? 2016. Beautiful first attempt. Right? Budi budi adugula. Right? Now see, I think it's visible. Right? History is a mystery. Definitely. Now, it is a question from, by looking at this, your NCRTs will talk about this, but you will not be able to recollect. That's a major problem. With basic knowledge, I know that Gatikas are places of learning. Definitely 3 is there. Right? And when I look at this Taniyurs, right, I'll tell you what I did. Okay? Taniyurs. Tani plus urs. Not yours in your WhatsApp chat, no. Urs. What is this urs? Ur, Nadu, Mandalam, all these are regions in Chola administration. Settlement in Chola administration. Taniyur is Ur, village, Brahmin, Chalo. 2 has to be correct. What is the answer? Knowledge or knowledge plus? Knowledge plus. Technique. Aptitude. And this doesn't come overnight, this doesn't come with your YouTube videos, definitely, trust me. Arigatha, same. I think Ara plus Gatha. Ghata means, basic knowledge, Sanskrit says that it is pot. Pot means something related to water. There is only one option which is having water, which is water wheel. I will mark it and come out. That is the answer. UPSC is deliberately doing this. Here, it is not your knowledge. It is your presence of mind. Presence of mind. And most of you will think that, don't you think I am using my knowledge also in this? I am also using my common sense, I am also using my knowledge that Ghata means pot. I know, that is my knowledge. And I am extrapolating it. Now here it demands only one thing, belief. If you don't believe this, it's not going to happen. How will you get that belief? Practice. Practice. Right? Let's see some more questions. 2019, Himalayan nettle. In this, don't break Himalaya, please. Him plus Alaya, temple, don't. No. Nettle. Nettle is what? I am having net in it. So net is something related to textile. Are you understanding? Huh? Isn't it beautiful? It's beautiful. It's only that belief. It's not that I'm doing it hawa mein. Exam hall, I have done it in exam hall, that's why I'm telling you. I don't know how many of these are out in the market, but I've done these in the exam hall, so I'm telling. Triclo SAN, the one page which I showed you, 2021. Triclo plus SAN. SAN, something must be related to sanitary. Something which is related to sanitary is toiletries. Yes, I am not doing any magic. Practice. Practice. Unless and until we practice, for this more than practice, that way we think, that orientation, that next 40 days which I am going to do is only that. Transfer. Transfer. Because unless and until we imbibe, it is not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen. 2022, right? Don't break it into fana plus some. Right? Search. Ana. Ana means coin. See? Coins. Are you understanding this? My dear, these are not out of blue. Either you should read all 24 hours, but still no guarantee, or practice this. Read peacefully for 8 to 10 hours, happily enjoy 14 hours, and in those 14 hours, at least for 4 hours, practice this. We will see who will stop you from clearing prelims. Yahi to hai. I mean, that's why I am putting it as knowledge plus. One more, 2022, right? Now see, UPSC is very definite about testing on what you know. I definitely know that Catalonia is Spain, right? Because there was a referendum that happened. Now that means whatever it has matched is incorrect. If Spain is here, this also should be incorrect. Yes? Yes or no? Now what is the answer? Zor se bolo. Only 2 pairs. This is the trend. Reversal. Interchange is the trend. If you don't understand this trend, you will never solve this question. You're stuck. If you start seeing Anatolia, you only know Anatolia in this. Turkey. Because Anatolian plateau, Anatolian is seismically very active in that particular. That is the only region where you have this transform boundaries. That is the understanding. Now look at the same thing here. Boja. Boja is always followed by Boja Parmara. Right? Boja Parmara. And I'll tell you what is the basis for this. There was one question in 2021 which talked about Gurjara Pratiharas, which talked about Boja, which talked about Guptas of Eastern. Which of the following are Gupta continuation? 2021, go back and refer. In that all of these kingdoms were there. We did not bother to read about those kingdoms. And we said, sir, they are making it tough, making it tough. No, my dear, this was a extrapolated question from 2021 on history. Always Boja is followed by Boja Parmara. Now, where is Parmara? Here. If Parmara is there, that means this is also wrong. This is also wrong. What is the answer? Because Jai Shakti is Chandalas. Do you need to know? You need to know what you are supposed to know. That's all. You need to know what you are supposed to know. And this exam is all about that. How well you use that what you know to a larger extent. Maximization of the knowledge that you are using. Not the knowledge. I am not maximizing my knowledge. I am having a basic knowledge. But I am maximizing my utilization. Please understand. I think with this more or less we had finished. Now just a quick summary, quick recap, 2-3 minutes. First, opening comment on prelims is easy. First, it is something beyond knowledge. It also has an element of knowledge which demands an element of technique. And you follow these 3 steps, that is your knowledge, practice, learning. Follow it in an organic manner. Learn it in an organic manner. Because what is demanded is knowledge, it's available free out there. But what you pick is very important. Those 40 sessions we are going to do that, cherry picking with respect to your knowledge base. And we would also learn with respect to how are we applying that knowledge which we have picked in the different dimensions with respect to by solving your PYQs. And in every subject there are certain sections which are definitely questions are asked every year. And those we have shortlisted and which we would be discussing as part of those 40 sessions.